The hardest part of any war? It isn't the first shot. Nope. It's not the big initial assault or all the explosions you see on the news. It's something way quieter, something much more basic. It's making sure there's breakfast on day 10.
You've seen the headlines, right? We've all heard the talking heads on TV. Every channel seems to be asking the exact same question. After all the smoke clears, who's going to be the one to finally open the Strait of Hormuz?
But here's the thing. That is completely 100% the wrong question to be asking. It's all about the flashy result, not the boring, difficult work that actually makes it happen.
The real question, the one that actually matters, is way simpler but so much harder to answer. When Marines hit the beach on those islands, Abu Musa, the Tums, who feeds them? Who gets them ammunition, fuel, water? Not just on day 2, but on day 10, and then day 30? Because look, anyone can take an island in a day, but holding it, that's a whole different ballgame.
And believe me, this isn't some new problem we just thought of. This exact logistical nightmare has nearly tanked major military campaigns before. To really get what's at stake at Hormuz, we gotta look back. We have to look at a lesson the British learned the hard way, with blood, back in 1982.
Picture this. May 25th, Falkland Islands. 2 Exocet missiles slam into the container ship Atlantic Conveyor. Now here's the critical part. The Conveyor wasn't some fancy warship. It was a cargo vessel, a glorified container ship. But in that one single strike, the British lost the very helicopters they needed to move all their supplies. The troops were on the island, sure, but the supply chain that was supposed to back them up, it had just vanished.
And the result, it was immediate and it was absolutely catastrophic. Ammunition was getting used up 4 times faster than anyone had planned. 4 times! The entire campaign was on the verge of grinding to a halt, not because of the fighting on the front lines, but because of one single logistics failure miles away from the action.
So, with that brutal lesson from the Falklands basically burned into the Pentagon's memory, how does the U.S. military plan to avoid that same fate at Hormuz? Well, the answer is actually sailing across the Pacific right now. And it's not one ship, it's 2. Each one designed to solve one half of this massive sustainment puzzle.
Let me introduce you to the USS Portland and the USS Comstock. The easiest way to think about them is like this. The Portland, her job is to sustain the people, the actual Marines. And the Comstock? She's built to sustain the machines they fight with. One is a floating hospital and a high-tech bodyguard. The other is a floating warehouse and an industrial workhorse. And you absolutely need both, or the whole thing just falls apart.
So let's start with the Portland. The heart of its mission to sustain the people is its giant onboard hospital. I mean, we're talking 124 beds, 2 full operating rooms, a dental surgery unit, an x-ray lab, the whole 9 yards, all of it prepackaged and floating on a 25,000-ton ship just outside the fight.
And this is where that whole golden hour concept in trauma care really comes to life. See, the closest hospital on shore is more than 2 hours away by helicopter. For a critical injury, that's a death sentence. But with the Portland sitting right there, an Osprey can scoop up a wounded Marine and have them in a state-of-the-art operating room in just 12 minutes. It's the difference between trying to build a field hospital under fire and having one that's already there, already sterile and ready to go. But the Portland isn't just a hospital ship. Remember, it's also a high-tech bodyguard. Back in 2020, it was the first ship of its kind to shoot down a drone with a high-energy laser. And the economics of this, they're just staggering. Instead of firing a $1 million missile, the Portland uses a beam of directed energy. The cost per shot is literally measured in pennies worth of electricity. The strategy here is just genius in its simplicity. So Iran's expensive missiles, they need targeting data. And the cheapest way for them to get that data is with a simple, off-the-shelf surveillance drone. Well, Portland's laser just burns that drone right out of the sky before it can send back a single image. You kill the eyes, and the enemy's missiles go blind.
So, Portland keeps the people alive. But what about the machines? The guns, the rockets, the fuel? Well, for that, we turn to its partner, the absolute engine room of this whole operation, the USS Comstock, and the incredible vehicle it carries deep inside its hull.
And there's a really powerful story here. According to the Navy's own plans, the Comstock was supposed to be decommissioned, scrapped, done. Instead, this old ship is now sailing toward the most dangerous waterway on the entire planet. It's just a quiet reminder that in a real fight, sometimes the oldest, most reliable tools are the ones you need the most.
The Comstock's main job is to be a mothership for this thing, the LCAC, or Landing Craft Air Cushion. It's basically a massive, super powerful hovercraft. It can carry a 60-ton payload, that's a main battle tank, at over 40 knots, and it can go right from the open sea, over the water, and straight up onto the beach. It is the key. It's what makes the entire logistics chain actually work.
But wait a minute. How can it deliver anything when the strait is probably going to be littered with naval mines? This is where the engineering gets truly extraordinary, because the very physics of how the LCAC works is precisely what makes this whole thing possible.
The secret is this number, 4 feet. The LCAC doesn't sit in the water, it rides on a cushion of air that lifts its entire 60-ton bulk 4 feet above the surface of the water. That air gap, that's everything.
So here's the genius part of the design. A normal naval mine is triggered by the huge focused pressure of a steel ship's keel cutting through the water right above it. But the LCAC, it spreads its entire weight across the huge surface area of its air cushion. The pressure on any one point of the water below it is just too low, too spread out, to ever set off the mine.
It's really that simple. The LCAC doesn't plow through a minefield, it just glides right over the top of it, totally immune to the one threat that would stop almost any other ship dead in its tracks.
Okay, so we have the pieces, right? Portland sustains the people, Comstock sustains the machines, and the incredible LCAC bypasses the mines. So what happens when you put them all together? Let's game this out. Let's walk through what a typical supply crisis might look like on day 5 and see how this whole system responds in real time.
Imagine this. It's 8 a.m. The call comes in. The HIMARS rocket launchers are black on ammo, and you've got 3 Marines wounded. 15 minutes later, boom. Comstock's stern gate drops and an LCAC launches, gliding right over the minefield with 60 tons of rockets. At the exact same time, an Osprey is lifting off the Portland to go get the wounded. While all this is happening, an enemy drone pops up trying to get a lock on the convoy. No chance. Portland's laser zaps it out of the sky. And all the while, F-35s from the USS Boxer are overhead, taking care of any bigger threats. It's a perfectly synchronized dance of logistics and defense.
And this brings us right back to where we started. The fast jets, the initial assault, that's what grabs the headlines. But that is not what decides who wins a long, grinding fight.
You know, there's an old saying in the military, amateurs talk tactics, but professionals study logistics. And what we're seeing here is the 21st century version of that. Logistics wins wars. But it's brilliant engineering that wins logistics.
So in the end, it's not about the famous aircraft carrier on the front page. It's about the 2 ships sailing right behind it, doing the dirty, unglamorous, but absolutely essential work of keeping the whole force alive and in the fight. It proves that the ships behind the headlines are the ones that really decide who wins. Which kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unsung heroes, what other overlooked systems are out there right now quietly deciding the fate of nations?